Looks like it's working. First time going live. Sorry. Anyway, I guess what I wanted to talk about, the first time I've ever gone live, first time I've done this. Hopefully all this works. Bring this up. Alright. Everybody's, I guess, pretty familiar with the whole Afghanistan thing that's going on right now. I would assume pretty familiar with it. I want to talk about that for a minute. Hey guys. Hey Kim. I don't know how to say good morning in Aussie. G'day, mate. That's all I got. Nah, but for real, I probably won't be on here too long, but I've just been watching the news, I guess, and I had this huge that's all I got for an Aussie accent, by the way. I'll work on that. I had this huge thought, because I've been thinking about this a lot. So it's like a huge revelation or whatever that I had about what's going on with this Afghanistan thing today. You guys know I'm not partisan, right? Like, I'm independent. I'm not either side. And I really mean that, by the way. A lot of people say that and they don't really mean it. That's what it seems like. But I've been alive for 38 years. Exactly, Kim. And we're gonna go. I'm gonna. But we haven't done nothing. That's the thing. What we have done doesn't have anything to do with Afghanistan. I mean, I remember September 11th. I was at work when it happened. I'm 38 years old. It blows my mind when I hear people talk about it now. I mean, there's people that can vote now that weren't even alive when it happened. It's crazy. But it was my first job. It was right after high school. And I remember the day it happened. I remember a lot of things about that day. It's kind of one of those big events that happen, and you burns into your memory where you were, what you were doing, that kind of thing. I remember the war in Afghanistan shortly after that, and the unity that this country, I guess, felt. It seemed like they felt. After that, everybody kind of pulled. I mean, New York itself pulled together big time. And so we went to war with Afghanistan, and we toppled their government. And you can see the timeline. I'm hoping you can see it. Let's see if it... Yeah, it's pulled up. So we go to war. We topple their government. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's burned into my memory. It's been almost... well, it has been 20 years, I guess. And yeah, it's kind of how it works, I guess. Not a lot of things do that to you, but the big ones, I guess, do. We toppled their government. We did all this stuff. As you can see, the timeline here. Combat operations ceased in 2003. I remember Rumsfeld, I guess he was the defense secretary at the time. I remember when he announced that. I remember the mission accomplished. Bush on the aircraft carrier, the memes that lasted for 5 years after that. I remember all that. And we spent 20 years in this country. It's the United States' longest war. What did we do? We spent $2 trillion. 300 million per day for 20 years. Actually, I think it's closer to $3 trillion. Now, we can say that number, 3 trillion, right? We can just say that word, 2 trillion, 3 trillion. We just throw it out there like it's a number. That number is inconceivable I can't imagine what $3 trillion bills would look like. I can imagine how big that would be. Just off the top of my head, I can't fathom it. I can imagine what $100 looks like. I can imagine what 1,000 looks like. 3 trillion. So we throw these big numbers around and we don't really fully think about it, I guess. $300 million per day. I don't know about you guys. I'm not rich. I work for a living. I'm sure you guys work for a living. To think about $300 million per day that we spent, what were we spending it on? Well, combat operations ceased. I mean, I'm sure that we were still pulling security and doing some sort of combat defense operations, basically, is what we were doing. Other than that, we were building stuff. Now, to build stuff, if they had the means to build the things that you now see on the news, I don't know if you guys saw the videos of them playing in gyms. There was like an amusement park that when they took over in the last few days that they went to. I mean, we've been building these things. We've been building all these buildings and facilities and government, things for them. We've been doing that for years, and now they have them. If they had the ability to build those things, we wouldn't have had to build them for them. So it's not like we hired Afghans to build them, right? We brought over contractors. We paid these contractors with this money. Now, the contractors have lobbyists in Washington, D.C. These lobbyists, their job, let me show you. Lobbying is the organization of a group of like-minded people, industries, or entities to influence an authoritative body often through financial contributions. Okay, not just financial contributions, not just direct contributions. We're talking about they have these lobbyists speak for the ruling bodies of these companies, these contracting companies, and they go to these politicians and say, hey, if this happens, if you can make this happen, we want this to happen, this X thing. We want to have to build these buildings in this country. If you can make that happen, there's a lot of money involved. And guess what? It's not just about a direct financial contribution. When's the last time you heard of a congressman, a senator, representative having money problems after leaving office, right? This is their retirement. They don't want to stop getting rich. So when you hear about the word backdoor deals, exactly. It's always follow the money. Always. There is no altruism in that swamp. It's always follow the money. And when you really start to think about it and what we've done, and what they want us to focus on instead of following the money, they want us to focus on ideology. They want people to hate this president, this and that. None of that matters. Think about how the media pushes the narrative and how the other side pushes against that, right? Like they say, you gotta hate Trump, you gotta love Biden. The president isn't the ruler of the country. The president doesn't rule you, doesn't rule me. The president is the CEO of the government. They're the boss of the government. If you're a government employee, the president matters because that's your CEO. It doesn't matter to you and I. Guess who does matter? Legislators. They call them lawmakers for a reason. They're lawmakers. Now, who do the lobbyists target? They aren't going to the Oval Office. The lobbyists target lawmakers. So while we're being told I guess my point is, the president doesn't matter. and especially this president, it's very, very clear to me and to the rest of the country, at some point soon, I would think, that he isn't like, I mean, he's getting older, and he doesn't seem to be fully engaged in even what he's in his limited scope of power, even. Okay, and I'm sorry if you do like Biden. I'm not saying that to demean the guy. He's done enough to demean himself, but he's not special. Okay, they do it on both sides of the aisle. I'm talking about when he was a senator, not now. Okay, thanks, Kim, and thanks for watching it. If you do watch it later, it is late. I'm sorry, but we're being set up to hate this guy, like this guy, and it feels like we're being directed away from what's really important, I guess. And listening to his speech the other day, and what he said about some of it I actually agreed with. The fact that, I mean, I don't believe that America has. He said we shouldn't be fighting for a country that won't fight for itself. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, Mariah, that's another thing. It reminded me of the pictures of Saigon, the people that were clinging onto the bottom of the Huey. If you know what I'm talking about, you can look it up. It's a famous picture. The Huey that took off from the embassy in Saigon when the North was rolling into. Exactly. That's the thing. He is just a figurehead. He's not important. He's the president. He shouldn't even be. He wouldn't be important even if he were the best president in our history, which he's certainly not. And I'm not sorry for saying that, because he stood on that stage and basically said what I've been saying for the last 20 years. Okay, well, why did we spend 20 years there then? If you believe this, what you just said, why did we spend $2 trillion? $2 trillion. Why did we do that? Why did we spend 20 years there? Why did we send military there? I mean, husbands, sons, daughters, wives, and have them lose their life. Why'd we do that? You're telling us it's not worth fighting for. It's not worth fighting for a country that won't fight for itself. I agree with that. Why'd we do it? For 20 years. That's not a mistake. A mistake is, oops, I made a mistake. Let me correct it. We've been doing this for 20 years. And $2 trillion worth. But the right wants to have you hate Biden. They want to focus on what he's saying and he's screwed up. He can't talk. Well, no, the guy definitely can't talk. I mean, he's obviously sliding into dementia. That's not important. It just seems like we're focusing on the wrong thing, and it is a diversion. I think you're right about that, and I hope more people really start to, I guess, pay attention to that, because the people that are responsible for this are the legislators, Congress, the Senate. These are the real monsters, and these people are getting rich off of what they're doing here. And now that we've let it fall, and why do you think we let it fall, by the way? Right? We've been drawn back for years, okay? So we're drawing all this personnel back, all the government personnel, the military personnel. Guess what's drying up? The money's drying up. We're not needing to build as many buildings. I mean, there's only so many schools, there's only so many playgrounds, so many amusement parks you can build. We can't fill the whole place up with them. The money's drying up, and it has been for years. Okay, so once we reach critical mass of all the people and all the contractors, and with contractors comes contracted security. So we're pulling all that security out. Those guys are paid from the company that employs them, the one that has a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. They're paid. So we do all of that. We've reached critical mass of where there's not enough personnel, there's not enough equipment and country to hold back the tide. So the country just reverts back to what it was. So what's the end game? What's the in sum result? Well, what did let's see. Kim, what did she say? It's like we've done nothing. We haven't done anything. We toppled the Taliban and they came right back. So we have to ask ourselves, what did happen? What did change? And to do that, you gotta follow the money. Yeah. Yeah, Mariah, you're absolutely right about that. That's a whole other horrible thing, and I've been thinking about that a lot, honestly, because I remember, like I said, I remember firsthand, the stories of what the Taliban did under Sharia law to females, and I mean they still do this stuff in Saudi Arabia, but the Taliban was much worse. They were much more strict, much more adherent. They had a stranglehold in that country, and they do again now. Yeah, to be a female there now is horrible, terrible. I look up Sharia law. It's pretty bad. So I guess my main thing was, I don't know. Like I said, I'm an independent, and I think that to me, the left and the right battle with this country's like sliding into, it's just a distraction from what we really need to be worried about, and it's dangerous because we start to hate each other. There's like two sides. We're fighting each other. When look at January 6th, right? There was no left. There was no right. They weren't protesting each other. They were going after the government. I think I said this in one of my previous videos that I made. That one day scared the government bad because there were Antifa guys hauling a guy with like a 3%er hat over the wall, like helping him up over the wall. They stopped seeing left and right. They came together, and it was the people versus the true enemy, which is the government. And it was nice to see that. And for me, for the Congress and the people inside, it was terrifying. It really scared them because it's like they lost control of us, and they can't stand to do that. Not as deep as they are and as deep as we are into it. I think it really scared them. And it also gave them an opportunity to crack down on us more. Gave them a boogeyman day, I guess. But I don't know. I could be wrong about all this. I don't have all the answers, like I say. But to me, it just seems like we're being split up for a reason by the respective sides. And if we really think about it, we don't want dissimilar things, like we want kind of the same thing, I believe, except for communists. They literally want communism, and that's, yeah, there will always be those people. Communism's an easy sell. I covered this in another video, I think. Yeah, those people we don't have anything in common with, but I think most real, honest, intelligent Americans want the same thing, no matter what side they're on, and they're being fooled into following these certain avenues of focusing on their specific issues that the other side doesn't agree with, and we all just want the same thing. I don't know. It's just what I think. I think the Afghanistan thing is Yeah, no, they didn't. It is divide and conquer. If they can keep us divided and hating each other, then it keeps us from hating them. Imagine if we did, the majority of Americans stopped seeing these dividing lines they've made. Imagine that. I mean, there's what, 315 million people in the United States? Imagine that. That's a scary proposition for them. I mean, it'd be pretty terrifying. A scary proposition for anybody. We got a lot more people than we did back in 1776. Population's a lot bigger. Orders of magnitude. They expected some of us to be stubborn, I think. I guess they didn't know how many, but the majority still entrenched in their side, you know. Yeah, it would be a surprise if we all stopped hating one another and focused on who the real enemy is. Yeah, yeah, it would be a nice thing. I hang out with a lot of different people and a lot of different viewpoints, and I was always raised to, I guess, be able to have those discussions with people, and it's getting impossible to do that because people will immediately, and I know they do this to me too. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this when you're talking to somebody and you're actually talking about like current affairs or issues and stuff like that. They you can tell they're starting to, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, everybody's guilty of it, right? But you can tell when they stop listening and they start trying to like assign a box to you. They're trying to tell, like, hey, Virginia. Like they're trying to label you basically because they don't know you, right? They don't know anything about you. They don't know your background. It's just somebody you just met. And you can tell that they're trying to like assign a side to you. That means they're not listening anymore. And the chance for an honest discussion's gone. So, yeah, I noticed it. And we're all guilty of it, right? Like, I would see myself doing the same, or notice that I'm doing the same thing. That's a bad way. That's a bad way to be because that's judging a book by its cover, and it's human nature. You know, you can try to train yourself out of it. I do. Like I said, I still find myself doing it sometimes. But the one thing that I won't discuss and I won't debate are the virtues of socialism or communism. I mean, if somebody wants to have that debate or that discussion, it's already been solved to me, and maybe that's small-minded of me. It may be. I I don't think it is. I think history has settled it for us, right? Like that debate is over because if you pay attention to history and if you learn about human nature, like communism and socialism work great on the books. In theory, it's beautiful. Everybody gets what they want. It's a win-win-win for everybody. But if you know anything about human nature, you know it's a very small chance that that can happen. And if you look back at history, it's never happened. So what does that tell you about human nature? That's the problem, right? Like that's why we can never be that type of society. So, I mean, as far as the virtues of it, I can't. It's pointless. Why discuss the virtues of it? We're never going to be able to do it. History's shown us that, and you can't institute it on purpose. You can't make progress happen. Progress is like a side effect of just existence, like opportunity. You know, people that call themselves progressives, I guess, I always wondered about that because you're trying to force progress and you can't force it. Yeah, because history tells the tale, right? It kind of removes the need for the debate because it's kind of settled. I remember in school they called America like the great experiment. Like we were This has never been tried to this extent before. I mean, there have been republics and democracies in the past, but a republic balanced with democratic features, I guess, a little bit different. One that's able to save itself from, you know, tyranny and oppression. So I guess that was the experimental part, just to see if we could do it. Like if we could hold on to it. I think there's like a famous quote, um, freedom is good if you can hold on to it, or something like that. I think Benjamin Franklin said something like that. But and that's the experimental part, I guess. And after 245 years, it's sad to see the experiment fail. I mean, it took a long time. You gotta give them credit. Like, it took a long time to get here. The Roman Republic didn't last this long. And that was a big, for the time, it was big area, big population. I mean, so it sucks. It's sad to see it fail, I guess, but it's human nature. I don't think that we'll ever be capable of really governing ourselves. I mean, I don't know what it would take, but I don't even remember what my point was with that. I don't know. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on it because I started thinking about it today, and I was listening to. I try to listen to different views. You know, when I'm listening to commentators, I don't use mainstream media for anything. Fox News, CNN, none of that. It's pointless, and honestly, I find it boring because it's so whitewashed to one side or the other. Hey, Cindy, you're good. I find like I like the independent commentators. Yeah, yeah, Mariah. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like it's becoming like a very important thing, and more people. I've never seen politics this front and center ever. Um, you just gotta pay attention to who's telling you what, though. It's like it's like we're late to the game. Like the politicians have been playing this game way longer than we have, and it's a legacy in Washington of what they've done. That like the game itself has evolved to such a state that we can't play. Like we can't even tell like when who's scoring points. Like they're way ahead of us on that. And like I said, I as a teenager, and I didn't really pay attention to politics. I graduated high school in 2001, so it wasn't even on my scope, or I guess later in the 2000s is when I kind of started paying attention, and I think that's when a lot of people did. It started getting their attention because we started to see more and more freedoms taken from us. But now we sit back and we try to listen to these talking heads on TV, and we try to make sense of what's actually happening, and we're so far behind in the game because the rules they've made and how long they've been playing. We can't compete. Not that we're competing, but we can't even understand what game they're playing. So yeah, I don't know. Different, slightly different view. I don't know. I wasn't getting on here to slam any one side or the other. Quite the opposite. I just kind of wanted to throw my opinion out there. Like I said, I could be wrong. I don't have all the answers. I'm only 38. Not that old. But yeah, That's all I got. I just thought it was interesting. It's just interesting for me, like, to watch the talking heads and all the propaganda that's been put out on both sides, and I'm sitting there like, man, I've watched this happen. Like this isn't what they're saying it is, and it's not what the other side's saying it is. Like, there's more going on here, and there's more that we could never know. The backroom deals and the money changing hands, and who's getting rich off of what. How much money have we spent? How much money are we going to spend this year? They don't care about the economy. Yeah, it is a different reality. You're absolutely right. Like, going to Washington, it, imagine, we can't imagine that world. It is a totally separate reality because of the game that they play there. I don't know if you've ever watched House of Cards. That is the closest, like, I watched it, several seasons of it, and I guess that was like the closest I could imagine it would be like. They are all wolves. They're horrible people. All of them. They do have the rule book. And we can't even look at it. We don't. It's like watching football and not even knowing where the end zone is. It's like there's no lines. Like, how do we know what's going on? Thanks, Mariah. It's mainly just me babbling, but I might do more. I do lives all the time on Twitch. That's video games, though. It is about power, money, control. I think money is all three of those things. It's everything. The more money, the more power you can exert, the more control you can exert. Or the more control you can exert, the more power you have. Yeah. All about money. Like I said, follow the money. And I started going through all of this stuff, and I even found an interesting paper on lobbyists, lobbying. The interesting thing to me was these two definitions right here. Like-minded people influence authoritative body through financial contributions. Bribery is the payment of something for gain or special treatment in order to get an advantage. It's the same definition. It's the same thing. Look at it. It's right there. You can see it. It's the same thing. Lobbyist. Bribist. I think human nature, evils. No, I mean, I know what you mean. Money is the root of all evil. It's like this is a famous thing, but I think we made money. We made that idea. So I think there is a part of human nature that is evil. And I think since the dawn of time, since humans became human, we have always tried to gain control over fellow man. We've always tried to climb to the top. Everybody wants to be in control. They want more power. It's our nature. It's like what drives us. I think it even has something to do with survival instinct. I mean, it's how survival instinct became the ability, the closer you were to the top, the more likely you were to survive. So it's very heavily ingrained in us, I think, as a whole, human beings as a whole. So it's not going to change, and you can't legislate that out of us. It's our nature. People want to say how altruistic they are, and especially this woke stuff. People want to virtue signal about what they've done, what they've given. It's it's okay. You're narcissism. Like, You're saying that you're better than everybody else. Look how good I am. I've given this. I've given this. I agree with this. I support this. Same thing. You're saying you're trying to give yourself clout. You're trying to give yourself the money over other people. Money by, you know what I mean. The influence to say that you're better than everybody, or look how far up the ladder I am because I've done this. Same thing. Influence and yeah. I don't know. I'm just a small time guy. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I spend a lot of time thinking, probably sometimes too much, but definitely not wrong. I like that. Not completely wrong, at least. I got some good points. I'll take that. Nah, I appreciate you guys listening to me babble. Sorry if it was probably mostly babbling. I'm not gonna write a script ever, so a bit more babbling. No, but I appreciate you guys spending time. It is 1 o'clock, and I think I'm gonna go hiking tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know. Gotta see what everybody else wants to do. Oh, um, we found an abandoned hospital I'm gonna go to, and it's in Maysville, Kentucky. Thanks. Glad you liked it. But no, this abandoned hospital, it's like 5 stories tall. It's big, like big. And Logan and Miranda and Autumn, I want them to obviously all go, you know. Yeah, it is cool. Like, I looked at the pictures on Google Earth, and I couldn't, like, because I used a street view like all around it or whatever, because I was looking for like open doors. I didn't see any immediately, but like it's one of those hospitals that have annexed the buildings next to, you know what I mean? Like they've got multiple buildings that they've attached onto it. There's a way in. I know there's a way in. There's got to be a way in. There's a will, there's a way, right? Thanks, Mariah. Interesting's good. I'll take it. But yeah. Oh yeah. All the GoPros. I got like 3 of those things. That's how I get all those different views. Yeah, definitely gonna GoPro. But yeah, no, I gotta have Miranda, Logan, and Autumn with me for that one because it's a big one. Plus, it's like a 3-hour drive north. Shooting a spider. Be a good shot. Get hit a spider. Oh wait, I could hit a spider. Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Like the school that we went to. Yeah, and I've been using that 360. The key. I don't know if you guys noticed, like in the last few videos, like how the camera moves. It looks like I'm turning. I'm not actually turning the camera. I'm just recording. I'm shooting in 360, and then I just keyframe it around. So it's kind of cool because it gives you like that. It makes it smoother, I guess, and it also it films everything in 360 degrees. So it doesn't matter where you point the camera, you're gonna get something if it happens. So that's what I've been doing. It's kind of cool. I like it. It takes longer to make the videos, but I think it's worth it. Because if you're just using a video camera, GoPro, you never know what like you're gonna miss something that happened that was cool. So with the 360, you don't miss anything. Like it films everything. Yeah, 360 was definitely pretty cool. Good idea to get that. It's like the main one I use now. But yeah, we were gonna go to the hospital today. That didn't happen. Logan's sick. I think he has probably what I had 2 weeks ago. Right on, Cindy. Cool. So if he's sick, he's probably still gonna be sick tomorrow. So we're gonna have to wait till next week to go. But yeah, that one's gonna be cool. I wish I could go live from it. That would be sweet. Can't do that though. So I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. We may go down to Big South Fork. I want to hike the Twin Arches Trail or something. But Have to see what happens. But I appreciate you guys staying up with me, man. Good talk. Thanks for listening to me babble about, I guess not really politics, but current affairs. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Y'all have a good evening, and I'm going to try to get a video up Thursday or Friday. Maybe we'll do another live next week, if I can think of anything to talk about. Night, y'all.